there has to be a straw that breaks the camel's back. And something as small and minimal as your facial hair might not seem like the straw that breaks the camel's back, but what is it going to be for you?
Truly, I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God.
Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Brandon and this is Born Again XJW. Now, as a lot of you probably already know, the Jehovah's Witnesses recently, Stephen Lett, on one of their recent announcements, have changed their stance that they've had for decades on men growing beards. Now, I know lots of people have made videos concerning this change, and I just want to let you know that this is not going to be that typical kind of video. There are two videos that I would suggest personally of people who have handled this really well. One of the ones I'm going to play a little bit of is Light Over Dark Ministries, and then the other one is from my good friend and dear brother David from XJW Laura, or the channel David and Laura. I'm going to post both of those in the comment section and the bio as well, so you'll be able to check those out on your own. The reason I say this is not going to be your typical Jehovah's Witness rebuttal when it comes to beards or this change or anything like that is because, like I said, it's been done a lot of times. And it's probably becoming white noise to you at this point. So here's who I'm making this video for. I'm making this video for people who are currently in the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, who either call themselves Jehovah's Witnesses, are just going along with the day-to-day humdrum that is being a Jehovah's Witness. You're physically in, but maybe you've checked out. I want this to be a wake-up call for you. So I'm going to do a little bit of story time. I'm going to take one of my own personal anecdotal experiences, and then I'm going to relate it to this subject. So when it comes to the organization and their stance on beards, there's a fantastic paper trail of why this feud even started in the first place, and it is a feud between Charles Taze Russell and Judge Rutherford, the man who is incapable of growing facial hair. That is why Jehovah's Witnesses had a stance against beards, was because of one man's insecurity and another man's jealousy. So yeah, that's the whole crux of it. So when it comes to the change, they're saying all the things that secularists, Christian apologists, and other people would point out. There's no scriptural reason why men shouldn't grow a beard. There's no prohibition against it. There's nothing wrong with it. They quote all the scriptures that Christian apologists would use to say, yeah, that's right. Like, this is a weird thing that only your book publishing company teaches. So we'll go to my own anecdotal experience real quick. Again, my name is Brandon. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. I was born and raised third generation Jehovah's Witness. When I got out of the Jehovah's Witnesses, I ended up joining a company. I bet you weren't expecting that. Okay, so by trade, I'm a professional ballroom dance instructor, coach, and performer. So I joined a franchise. I'm not going to name the name here because it's not important. I just want you to know that their model is very similar to the BITE model when it comes to high control groups. So behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotion control. It kind of dips into all those categories. Now, I'm not saying that the franchise that I was a part of was a cult. What I'm saying is they employed a lot of the same tendencies or tactics and also narcissistic behavior, kind of stretched out away from the individual and out over an organization. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. If you're a Jehovah's Witness male, even female, but in this case, I'm addressing specifically the males, and you've been wondering about this doctrine for a long time, I want you to listen to this segment of this video right here, and I want to give you a little analogy on it. So we're going to listen to that real quick.
The most disgusting part is the mention of people's feelings, where he gets passive-aggressive and threatens a natural response to the millions of witness men. First he says, some may feel vindicated. This is what I've been saying for a long time. This proves that I was right all along. Others may feel disappointed. I supported the policy of grooming for all those years, and I feel let down. Is either reaction appropriate? Not really. What?
Okay, I share his sentiments exactly. Is either reaction reasonable? Not really. So this is an abusive relationship that you find yourself in. You're not in a religion, you're not in a faith system, you are a part of a book publishing company that produces magazines and tracts and literature. They have a company code of conduct, and within that company code of conduct is a dress code. Okay, I again was a part of a company where we had a code of conduct and we had a dress code. Now, it was kind of broad and vague, and it was up to each individual franchisee to determine what was proper inside of the code of conduct of the company. But again, what I see from the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, is exactly what I saw inside of the franchise that I was a part of. Again, not calling the franchise a cult, just saying they employed a lot of the same tactics. So this behavior is typical of someone who's in an abusive relationship. I want you to just think for a moment that maybe your sister-in-law or a best friend she's in a relationship with either an abusive boyfriend or an abusive husband. And she confides in you after they fight. And of course, your advice to her would be to shake her by the shoulders and say, get the heck out of Dodge. You need to get away from this relationship. But, you know, when she describes some of these situations, she tells you some of the language that this abusive boyfriend or this abusive husband uses. He'll say things like, why did you make me hit you? You know, so somehow implying that by her behavior or her somehow irritating him, that he was justified in physically striking her. So he's making it her fault, right? Now, he'll say something like, you know, if you don't want that to happen again in the future, you just shouldn't act that way. Again, justifying his actions and trying to place the blame on the person who did nothing, the innocent victim in this instance. So when it comes to what you just heard Stephen Lett say, you know, I've for years been saying that the prohibition on beards is unscriptural, and I feel vindicated. And then you have other people who have like, man, I've followed the rules. I've told other brothers that they need to, you know, shave that crap off their face or else they're not going to be on the theocratic ministry school. I've, you know, gotten ready and close to disfellowshipping brothers over growing facial hair over the course of a holiday or something like that. You know, and I feel like this is kind of a punch in the gut. Like, what have I been doing? Well, truth be told, you've been in an abusive relationship. Again, you have not been a part of a faith system. You haven't been part of a religion. You've been a part of a multi-level marketing company. They have a code of conduct and they have a dress code. And as a company, they're free to change that dress code at any point in time. Now, I think the struggle that most people have is the sort of Christian language that they try and use. They try and use certain aspects of the scriptures to say, here's why there's a prohibition on beards. And then now they're changing their tune and they're trying to find certain scriptures to say, here's why you can grow a beard. And I'm not going to use their stupid language, can a man wear a beard? The only time you can wear a beard is when you get a beardo. Photo coming right here, which is pretty cool, by the way. So the reason I said this is not your typical beard video is because, again, there's other people who have pulled out scriptures. There's other people who have taken a different approach to encroaching on this subject. My whole thing is you're in an abusive relationship and I want you to get out. I want you, the I want you, the victim of an abusive boyfriend or husband. I want to grab you by the shoulders and shake you and say, you need to get out of there. You need to do everything that you can to protect your body from this person who not only physically harms you, but they emotionally and spiritually harm you when they try and turn around and say, this is your fault for my bad behavior. My abuse is your fault. So one last thing I'll leave you off on with is the way that my wife and I exited the franchise was we had bounced around several different locations trying to find where everything fit for us. And that's a different story for a different day. But I remember getting to this one particular studio, and this studio owner that we were working for, she thrived in chaos. In fact, when things were going good, she loathed it. She wanted to try and create problems so that there would be tears over here and tears over here, and there would be all this turmoil, and then she could come in and save the day. That was her mode of operation, and it became very apparent very quickly because we had been in several other locations where we had seen that type of behavior before. So I remember we had a wonderful weekend competition. It was Friday, Saturday, Everything went great. The studio cleaned house. We got top studio, top student, top professional over here. Chelsea and I had high marks in our divisions. Everything. It was fantastic. And then I remember the Sunday where we were sitting in my living room, and this studio owner who thrived in chaos, she tried to create a problem. She sent me a text message, said that something I said to a student over the weekend really offended them, and that we need to address this on Monday. Well, I knew that nothing I had said over the weekend had offended anyone, especially the particular student that we were talking about. So what I decided to do was just go around the bull crap, and I decided to contact the student directly. I spoke to them on the phone. I said, you know what, I'm so sorry if I offended you. You know, this studio owner told me that you were really offended by something I said, and I did not mean that, so I apologize. Of course, the student had no clue what I was talking about, to which they said, I actually have no idea what you're talking about right now. The reason I bring any of that up is because what ended up happening was I remember sitting in my living room, and my father and mother-in-law were sitting in the living room as well, and they were watching all of this unfold. Chelsea and I have been with the company for 7 years, and finally at one point my father-in-law just looked me in the eye and he said, how much longer are you going to put up with this? And it was like, after 7 or 8 years of trying with this company, just a couple of words, how much longer are you going to put up with this? I said, you're right. And then the very next day, Chelsea and I walked into the studio, we gave them a letter of resignation, and that was that. We walked out of a company that we had invested 7 to 8 years of our time into. Again, the reason I bring that story up is because there has to be a straw that breaks the camel's back. And something as small and minimal as your facial hair might not seem like the straw that breaks the camel's back, but what is it going to be for you? And my question to you is the same question that my father-in-law had for me. How much longer are you going to put up with this? So I encourage a little bit of self-reflection. Again, there's other people who have made other videos on this subject who have done a much better job of showing the paper trail of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. Again, David of David and Laura, or XJW Laura, also Light Over Dark Ministries. They've done 2 great videos on the beard subject and the change over time. But for me, again, I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, there's so many witnesses trapped in an abusive relationship with a multi-level marketing company that clothes itself in Christian language, but inside they're full of dead man's bones. I mean, they're waterless clouds. They're useless. They're good for nothing. They're saltless salt that's just good for being thrown outside and trampled on. Like it's not even good for the ground. So I guess I'm just going to leave it there. Otherwise, I'm going to keep ranting. So my last question, and I'll repeat it again. How much longer are you going to put up with this? I hope everyone who watches this has a wonderful day, and God bless.
Truly, I say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God.